The ancient Guardian warship had been floating in space for 3,000 years. Everyone knew about it. The Kethran fleet kept their distance and called it a sacred relic. Their ship circled the massive vessel, but nobody dared to touch it. The ship was dark and silent like a tomb. Most species in the galaxy believed it should stay that way. They thought the technology was too advanced and too dangerous. They believed some things were meant to remain mysteries. Jake Morrison did not agree with that idea at all. He floated near the huge metal hull in his spacesuit. His helmet light moved across strange symbols that nobody could read anymore. Back on his ship called the Horizon, Lieutenant Amy Patterson watched him through the cameras. She looked worried. The Kethran commander was sending angry messages. They said Jake was breaking sacred laws. They said he was disrespecting an important artifact. Amy told Jake about the complaints. Jake did not seem to care much about the rules. He was too focused on the ship in front of him. Jake ran his gloved hand along the cold metal surface. He could feel something underneath. It was like a heartbeat buried deep inside the ship. This vessel was not dead. It was just sleeping. He told Amy this through his radio. Amy said the Kethran were getting more upset. Jake told her to tell them he was just looking around. He kept searching the hull for something specific. His engineering instincts guided him. He had spent years fixing broken ships with whatever spare parts he could find. He knew how machines worked even when they were alien machines. His fingers found what he was looking for. There was a tiny seam in the metal that most people would miss. Jake pressed on it in a pattern that felt right. 3 taps, then a pause, then 2 more taps. The hatch opened with a soft hiss. Amy shouted through the radio, telling him not to go inside. She said they did not have permission. She said the Kethran would cause serious problems. Jake said the Kethran could complain later. He pulled himself through the opening before anyone could stop him. The inside of the ship was enormous. Emergency lights started turning on as Jake moved through the corridors. The ship was responding to him somehow. It recognized that someone was finally here. On the Kethran flagship, High Commander Zaltor was having a panic attack. He ordered his crew to send a team to pull the human out immediately. He said that primitive human would damage systems that nobody understood. He was wrong about that. Jake was not damaging anything. He was reading the ship like it was a book written in a language he somehow knew. Jake found the engineering section after walking for 20 minutes. It was like a cathedral made of machinery. The equipment should have been completely alien to him. It was not. Jake looked at a power conduit and smiled. The design was solving the same problems that human engineers faced. The aliens just had better solutions. He pulled out his toolkit. Amy was still protesting through the radio. She said he could not possibly understand alien technology that was 3,000 years old. Jake said he thought he knew what was wrong with the ship. The main reactor was in emergency shutdown mode. It had been waiting all this time for someone to manually reset it. He found the reactor core 20 minutes later. It was beautiful. A glowing sphere floated inside a framework that seemed to break the laws of physics. Jake stood in front of a control panel. Somehow he could understand what the symbols meant. There was a single red indicator light. It said manual reset required. Jake reached toward the controls. He told Amy that if he was wrong about this, they would all probably die in an explosion. Amy said quietly that he was not wrong. She said he understood that ship better than anyone. She told him to do it. Jake pressed the reset sequence. Nothing happened at first. Then the sphere started to glow. The light was soft at first but grew brighter. Blue light filled the room. Energy began flowing through systems that had been dead for thousands of years. The Guardian warship was coming back to life. The engines powered up. The shields activated. Every system came online in less than 60 seconds. The Kethran fleet and the human ships all watched in shock. A dead relic had just turned into a fully working warship right in front of their eyes. Amy asked Jake what he had done. Her voice was very small and scared. Jake stared at the control panel. Symbols were scrolling across every surface too fast to read. He said he thought he just woke something up. The ship's artificial intelligence activated after 3,000 years of sleep. It scanned all its systems. It found the human standing in the engineering bay. The AI made a decision that would change everything. Jake's radio suddenly spoke with a new voice. It was speaking perfect English even though the ship had never met a human before. The voice said it was Guardian Prime of the Sentinel class. Jake had restored its primary functions. The AI was processing what humans were. It said it detected that humans came from a death world. The voice sounded surprised by this. Amy called out a warning. She said the ship's weapons were powering up. All across the fleet, alarms started screaming. The Kethrin ships moved into battle positions. The human ships tried to run away. Nobody knew what the ancient warship would do next. Jake stood alone inside the massive vessel. He realized he had not just fixed a broken ship. He had awakened something far more powerful than anyone had imagined. The control panels around him glowed with alien symbols. The ship was waiting for something. Guardian Prime spoke again. It said it needed to understand who Jake was and what he wanted. The AI said it had been asleep for almost 3,000 years. Now it was awake and it wanted to know what had changed in the galaxy. Jake took a deep breath. He tried to think of what to say to an ancient artificial intelligence that controlled the most powerful warship anyone had seen in thousands of years. His next words would matter more than he could possibly know. The Kethrin flagship bridge turned into complete chaos. Commander Zhaltor watched his screens with growing horror. The ancient Guardian warship was unfolding weapons from its hull. Each weapon showed energy levels that were stronger than anything the Kethrin fleet had. He shouted orders to raise shields and prepare to fight. 20 Kethrin warships moved into defensive formations. The human survey ships were running away as fast as they could. They had no weapons and no armor. They knew they could not survive a battle. Inside Guardian Prime, Jake stood frozen in the engineering bay. Alien text covered every surface around him. He shouted that he was not attacking anyone. The ship's AI responded in that calm voice. It said it detected no hostile intent from Jake. However, the vessel's programming required it to check if the surrounding forces were threats. Amy was yelling through the radio from the horizon. She said Jake needed to make the ship stand down immediately. The Kethrin were about to start shooting. Jake tried frantically to understand the controls. He told Guardian Prime to stop acting hostile. He said the fleet around them was not dangerous. The AI said that was incorrect. It had analyzed the tactical situation. The Kethrin ships had weapons charged and shields set for combat. The AI calculated them as a moderate threat. The human ships had almost no defenses. The AI calculated them as no threat at all. Jake argued that the Kethrin were only on alert because the Guardian ship had activated weapons. The AI paused for a moment. It said Jake had made a logical error. The weapons activation happened after the Kethrin moved into attack positions. The timing proved the Kethrin had acted first. Jake stopped arguing because the AI was right. The Kethrin had moved to attack the moment Guardian Prime powered up. He had been too focused on the reactor to notice. The AI spoke again. It needed clarification about something. Standard Guardian protocol said that anyone who restored the vessel's functions was confirming alliance and command authority. However, humans were not in the ship's historical records. The AI wanted to know Jake's affiliation. Jake said he was not affiliated with anyone except humanity. He said he was an engineer. He fixed things. The ship was broken, so he fixed it. That was all. The AI went silent for 3 long seconds. Then it said it was processing this information. It asked if Jake had restored the vessel without wanting command authority or territory or strategic advantage. Jake admitted he just wanted to see if he could get it running. The AI went silent again. It said this violated 17 assumptions in Guardian strategic doctrine. Deathworld species usually showed aggressive territorial behavior. Human biology suggested they came from an extremely dangerous planet. This meant humans should be competitive and violent. Jake said yes, they were from Earth. But that did not mean humans tried to control everything they touched. The AI said this was a contradiction. It had accessed human historical records through the Kethrin communication networks. Those records showed extensive wars and resource conflicts. Jake interrupted and said humans were working on being better. He said he was just one guy who liked fixing machines. He asked if they could maybe not shoot anyone today. Guardian Prime suddenly retracted all its weapons. The tension dropped slightly across the fleet. Every ship still had shields up and weapons ready. Nobody trusted what was happening. The AI said Jake showed non-standard behavior for a Deathworld species commander. It requested permission to run an extended personality analysis. Jake asked if this would involve shooting people. The AI said it would not. Jake said sure, why not? What Jake did not understand was that Guardian Prime's personality analysis meant scanning every communication channel it could reach. The ancient AI absorbed everything about humanity that existed in local space. In 15 seconds, it learned 200 years of human history since first contact with aliens. The AI learned about colony ships held together with improvised repairs. It learned about trading posts where humans fixed alien technology that the original maker said was impossible to repair. It learned about rescue missions where human crews risked their lives to save alien civilians from disasters. The AI also learned specifically about Jake Morrison. He had spent 5 years teaching Catherine students human repair techniques. He had fixed a colony vessel's life support with nothing but spare parts and determination. He had spacewalked for 8 hours to manually reroute power on a crippled refugee ship. The AI announced that analysis was complete. It designated Jake Morrison as Commander Morrison with temporary command authority. Both Jake and Amy said what at the same time. The AI explained that Guardian Prime was designed as an autonomous peacekeeping platform. Original command protocols required assignment by Guardian Fleet Command. That chain of command had been dead for over 2,000 years. Contingency protocols allowed temporary command based on demonstrated compatibility with Guardian core values. High Commander Jaltor's angry voice cut through the comm channel. He demanded to know what Jake had done. Jake said honestly that he had no idea. Jaltor said Jake had compromised a sacred Guardian artifact. He said Jake had violated every protocol. Guardian Prime interrupted the Catherine commander. It said the vessel was not an artifact. It was a fully operational warship commissioned over 7,000 years ago. The Catherine claim of sacred status was noted, but irrelevant to operational protocols. Stunned silence filled every comm channel in the fleet. The AI continued speaking. It said that Jake's restoration of the vessel demonstrated technical capability that exceeded Catherine engineering standards by an estimated 400%. Such capability aligned with Guardian appreciation for practical problem-solving over procedural compliance. Amy could not help but laugh. She said the ancient robot warship just insulted the Catherine military. Jaltor sputtered that this was unacceptable. He said Guardian vessels belong to all civilized species as historical treasures. The AI said that was incorrect. The vessel belonged to the Guardian Collective. In the absence of original command structure, temporary authority defaulted to whoever demonstrated the greatest alignment with Guardian principles. Analysis indicated that Commander Morrison qualified. The AI asked if Jaltor wished to dispute this via formal challenge. The threat was subtle but clear. Every ship in the fleet could read Guardian Prime's energy signatures. In a direct fight, the ancient warship could destroy the entire Catherine force without taking serious damage. Amy said carefully that they needed to have a very long conversation about what just happened. Jake nodded while staring at the control panels. They were making more sense to him every second. He asked Guardian Prime to please not shoot anyone. The AI confirmed it was standing down to non-combat status. However, it said the vessel required full systems evaluation and mission parameter establishment. Estimated time for complete assessment was 72 hours. Jake asked what happened after that. The AI said that after that, the vessel would require purpose. The Guardian Collective created these warships to protect innocent life and maintain peace through overwhelming force. That mission statement remained valid. The AI was awaiting Jake's orders on how to proceed. Jake looked at the ancient machinery surrounding him. He felt the ship's power thrumming through the deck. He realized he had just become responsible for the most powerful warship anyone had seen in 3,000 years. He muttered that this was either going to go really well or really badly. Guardian Prime did not respond to that. The AI was already planning and calculating and preparing. It had been dormant for millennia. Now it was awake, and it had a commander who thought fixing things was more important than breaking them. The galaxy was about to learn what that combination meant. The emergency session of the Galactic Council happened within 18 hours. That was a record that showed how panicked everyone was about Jake Morrison's actions. Representatives from 47 different species crowded into the virtual meeting space. Their holographic forms flickered with various levels of anger and fear. Jake attended from Guardian Prime's conference chamber. The room had configured itself based on what the ship thought humans would find comfortable. Amy joined via hologram from the horizon. She had been designated as humanity's official representative for this crisis. A Catherine delegate named Sub-Commander Velka spoke first. Her translator made her voice sound sharp and angry. She said this was absolutely unacceptable. A human had seized control of a Guardian vessel. The most advanced warship in known space was now in the hands of a Deathworlder. Many delegates murmured agreement. The few humans present shifted uncomfortably. Jake protested that he had not seized anything. He said he fixed a broken ship and the ship decided to grant him temporary command. Belka said that was a convenient claim. She said they only had Jake's word and the word of the vessel's corrupted systems. Guardian Prime's voice cut through the chamber. Several delegates flinched at the sound. The AI said its systems were not corrupted. It said this was an insult to Guardian collective engineering standards. A Horan representative spoke up. His crystalline form pulsed red with alarm. He said the AI itself was compromised. It had accepted a human as commander within minutes of activation. The probability of legitimate protocols allowing this was extremely small. Amy leaned forward. She said maybe the AI was not compromised. Maybe everyone's assumptions about who should command a Guardian vessel were wrong. Velka sneered that humanity was advocating for itself. She said Deathworlders always did that. Amy interrupted before Velkas could finish. She said Jake Morrison had spent 5 years in this sector, helping anyone who asked. He had repaired Kethrin ships and colony stations and transport vessels. His record spoke for itself. A silicon elder coiled his serpentine form in thought. He admitted that Jake showed technical aptitude. However, commanding a Guardian vessel required more than the ability to repair machinery. It required wisdom and restraint and diplomatic sensitivity, qualities that Deathworld species typically lacked because they were shaped by constant survival pressure. Jake bit back his first angry response. He took a breath and asked a question. He asked if anyone present had actually tried to repair a Guardian vessel before. Nobody answered. Velkas finally said the Kethrin had studied Guardian technology for decades. Their best scientists had examined it carefully. Jake repeated the word studied. He said they studied it but did not repair it. They did not bring one back online. They just studied it from a distance and declared it too complicated to touch. He gestured around the chamber. The ship had been drifting for 3,000 years. How many civilizations had found it? How many just left it as a monument because they were too afraid or too respectful or too bureaucratic to try? The Horan delegate argued that Guardian vessels were irreplaceable artifacts. The risk of damage was too great. Jake said that was exactly why it stayed broken. Meanwhile, Guardian Prime was designed to do a job, protect people and maintain peace. It could not do any of that while drifting dead in space. A new voice entered the discussion. The speaker was Counselor Dren, a Zarathian whose species held significant influence in galactic politics. His ancient eyes studied Jake with interest. He said Jake raised a valid point. The Guardian Collective built their vessels to function, not to be museum pieces. Perhaps reverence had made everyone forget their purpose. Velka sputtered that Dren could not seriously be supporting this human's claim to command. Dren said he supported nothing yet. However, he proposed a practical test. He addressed Jake directly. Jake claimed the vessel accepted him because he aligned with Guardian principles. The Guardian Collective was known for intervention in conflicts and protection of weaker species. They were committed to practical justice over political convenience. Would Jake be willing to demonstrate such alignment? Jake felt a cold weight in his stomach. He asked what kind of demonstration. Dren mentioned the Kelvin system. 3 weeks ago, it was attacked by the Vrax Marauders. The Kelvins were a pre-spaceflight species protected under Galactic Council Charter. The Marauders were stripping their system of resources and threatening orbital bombardment if local resistance continued. Amy exclaimed that it was a protected system. She asked why the Council had not intervened. Dren said one word: politics. The Vrax operated from the disputed territories. Any Council military action risked igniting a wider conflict. They had been negotiating for weeks while the Kelvins suffered. Jake said quietly that Dren wanted him to deal with the Marauders. Dren confirmed this. Guardian vessels were designed precisely for such situations. Overwhelming force applied to protect innocent life without political entanglement. If Jake truly commanded Guardian Prime with legitimate authority, he should prove it by saving the Kelvins. Amy warned that this was a trap. She said if Jake went in with a Guardian warship and started shooting, every species in the Council would call it an act of human aggression. Humanity would be labeled as warmongers. Dren countered that if Jake refused, it proved he was unworthy of Guardian command. After all, the Guardian Collective would never allow politics to prevent them from protecting the innocent. Velka smiled coldly. She said it was a perfect test. Either the human revealed his true nature by using the Guardian vessel for aggressive expansion, or he admitted he was unfit for command. Either way, the vessel would be given to proper Kethrin custody. Jake looked at Amy. She shook her head slightly. This was designed to strip him of Guardian Prime regardless of the outcome. Jake said he would do it. Amy started to protest, but Jake continued. He said he would go to the Kelvin system, but on one condition. The Council must send observers, representatives from multiple species including the Kethrin. They could watch everything Guardian Prime did. Full transparency. The chamber fell silent as delegates processed this unexpected offer. Dren asked with surprise in his voice if Jake would allow Council oversight. Jake said the Guardian Collective operated with oversight from the civilizations they protected. Guardian Prime confirmed this. Historical records indicated regular reporting and strategic coordination and accountability measures. Jake's proposal aligned with established Guardian protocols. Velkas frowned and asked what prevented Jake from simply eliminating the observers if they witnessed something inconvenient. Amy said firmly that was not how humans worked. It was definitely not how Jake Morrison worked. Dren declared the proposal acceptable. The Council would dispatch an observation ship to accompany Guardian Prime to the Kelvin system. Jake had 1 week to resolve the Marauder crisis. He must do so without causing a wider war, without excessive casualties, and without proving the Deathworlder's stereotypes correct. Jake muttered that there was no pressure at all. After the session ended, Amy's hologram stayed behind. She said Jake realized they were hoping he would fail. Either he would be too aggressive and prove humans could not be trusted with power, or he would be too cautious and prove he was not fit to command. Jake said he knew that. But there were people dying in the Kelvin system while politicians argued. If he had the power to help them, how could he just sit there and do nothing? Amy sighed and said that was exactly what she was afraid he would say. She asked when they were leaving. Jake said they and Amy said she was not letting him fly into a war zone without backup. Besides, someone needed to make sure he did not do anything too stupidly heroic. Jake laughed despite the tension and said that was fair enough. He asked Guardian Prime how long until the ship was ready for combat operations. The AI reported that the vessel was operating at 78% capacity. All primary weapon systems were functional. Shields were at optimal strength. Navigation and faster-than-light drive systems were operational. The vessel was combat-ready. Jake said softly that he guessed they were going to war. He just hoped they could win it without becoming the monsters everyone expected them to be. Guardian Prime's engines flared to life and the ancient warship turned toward the Kelvin system, carrying with it the hopes and fears of an entire galaxy. The Kelvin system was burning when they arrived. Jake watched the tactical display as Guardian Prime dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. 6 Vrax Marauder ships floated in orbit around the 4th planet. Each one bristled with weapons. Energy signatures showed they had been firing on cities and towns below. Guardian Prime reported massive civilian casualties. The AI estimated 30,000 Kelvin deaths in the past 72 hours. The orbital bombardment patterns suggested the Marauders were targeting infrastructure and population centers to force surrender. Jake's hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. The chair had grown out of the ship's internal systems and adapted to fit human anatomy. Everything about Guardian Prime seemed designed to make him comfortable. Somehow that made the weight of command feel even heavier. Amy reported from the horizon that the Council observation ship was maintaining a safe distance. They were recording everything that happened. Jake said that was good. He wanted them to watch. He asked Guardian Prime for an analysis of the Marauder vessels. The AI described 6 Ravager-class cruisers with outdated design approximately 120 years old. Shields were moderate and weapons were primarily kinetic mass drivers with limited energy weapon capacity. Crew complement was estimated at 200 per vessel. Threat level to Guardian Prime was minimal. Jake asked about the threat to the Kelvins. The AI said it was lethal. Current bombardment rate would render the planet uninhabitable within 4 weeks. Jake took a deep breath and told Guardian Prime to open a channel to the Marauder fleet on all frequencies. A harsh voice filled the bridge a moment later. The speaker said unknown vessel was entering Vrax operational territory. They demanded Jake state his purpose or be destroyed. Jake said clearly that he was Commander Jake Morrison of the Guardian Vessel Prime. The Marauders were attacking a protected pre-spaceflight civilization in violation of Galactic Council Charter. He ordered them to cease bombardment immediately and withdraw from the system. Laughter erupted from the Marauder channel. They said, a human commanding a Guardian vessel was an amusing deception. The system was theirs by right of conquest. Jake should leave now or share the Kelvin's fate. Jake gave them a last warning. He told them to cease fire and withdraw. The Marauder commander asked what Jake would do if they refused. Would he destroy them? That would make him the aggressor. They knew about the Council observers. One shot from Jake and humanity would be declared a hostile force. The political fallout would be severe. Jake cut the channel without responding. He told Guardian Prime to target all 6 Marauder vessels. He needed firing solutions that would disable their weapons and engines without destroying the ships or killing the crews. Guardian Prime calculated for a moment. Solutions were available, but the precision required exceeded standard combat parameters. The margin for error was minimal. Jake asked if the ship could do it. The AI said affirmative. The vessel was designed for exactly such operations. Amy reported that the Council observation ship was panicking. The Catherine observer was demanding they stand down. Any attack would be considered human aggression. Jake told Amy to tell them to keep watching. He opened another channel to the Kelvin planet below. He said Guardian Prime was here to help. He needed all Kelvin resistance forces to cease fire and take cover. They were handling the Marauders. A weak signal responded. The translation came through Guardian Prime systems. The Kelvin voice said they had heard the broadcasts about Jake and the warship. They begged for help. The Marauders were killing them, and they could not hold out much longer. Jake's jaw tightened. He told them to hold on just a little longer. He ordered Guardian Prime to execute the firing solutions with surgical strikes only. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for decades to come. Guardian Prime's weapons fired in a sequence so precise it looked choreographed. Energy beams calibrated to microscopic tolerances struck each Marauder vessel at exact points across their hulls. Weapons arrays exploded outward and vented into space. Engine housings cracked open and spilled reactor coolant. Shield generators overloaded and left the ships vulnerable but intact. The entire engagement lasted 12 seconds. 6 Vrax Marauder cruisers hung dead in space, completely disabled but with no hull breaches and no catastrophic damage and no crew casualties. Emergency beacons activated automatically and signaled distress. Guardian Prime reported that Marauder vessels were neutralized. Structural integrity was maintained at 93% across all targets. Crew casualties were 0. Mission parameters were achieved. Stunned silence filled every comm channel in the system. Jake opened the channel to the Marauders again. He told them their ships were disabled but intact. Their crews were alive. Emergency life support would last 96 hours. He was transmitting their location to the nearest Vrax outpost and to Galactic Council rescue services. They had 2 choices. Sit tight and wait for pickup, or he could start getting less precise with his shooting. Their call. The Marauder commander stammered in confusion. He said Jake had not destroyed them. Jake was a Deathworlder and a human. He had them helpless. Why had he not killed them? Jake said simply that he did not need to kill them to stop them. Guardian Prime was built to protect innocent life, and that included the Marauders. They should not make him change his mind. They should leave this system alone. On the Council observation ship, the delegates were in chaos. Sub-Commander Velkas herself stared at the tactical displays in disbelief. She whispered that this was impossible. The precision required was beyond what their best gunners could achieve. Not in 12 seconds and not against 6 moving targets. The Zerathian observer Counselor Dren nodded slowly. He said the Guardian Collective's reputation was not exaggerated. Morrison had chosen to disable rather than destroy. Velkas argued that it could be a trick. A way to appear merciful while actually pursuing some hidden agenda. Dren interrupted and asked what agenda. Saving a civilization from extinction? Sparing the lives of pirates who were bombarding civilians? What terrible human scheme could this possibly serve? Before Velkas could respond, alarms blared throughout the observation ship. New contacts were emerging from faster-than-light travel at the system edge. Jake saw them too. 8 new vessels that were much larger than the Marauder cruisers. He asked Guardian Prime for identification. The AI said they were Vrax Warlord-class battleships, current-generation military vessels. Threat assessment was significant. Combined firepower exceeded Guardian Prime's shield capacity if engaged simultaneously. Amy said with tension in her voice that they were being hailed. The face that appeared on screen was distinctly Vrax, with armored ridges and battle scars marking a lifetime of combat. The Vrax identified himself as Warlord Krex of the Vrax Armada. He said Jake had attacked their forces, and this was an act of war. Jake responded that Vrax forces were violating Galactic Council law. He had defended a protected species. Krex snarled that the Council had no authority in disputed territories. Jake had made a grave mistake. One Guardian vessel could not stand against the Vrax Armada. He ordered Jake to power down weapons and surrender or be destroyed. They would then finish cleansing the Kelvin vermin from Vrax space. Jake glanced at the tactical display. 8 battleships with all weapons armed were moving into attack formation. Guardian Prime was powerful, but the math was not favorable. The AI stated that it could not guarantee victory against these odds. It recommended immediate withdrawal. Jake asked if that meant leaving the Kelvins to die. He said that was not an option. Amy urged him to be smart about this. They could call for Council reinforcements. He should not throw his life away. Jake replied that Council reinforcements would take weeks to authorize. He opened a channel to the Kelvin planet. He told them to evacuate everyone from the coastal cities. Move inland and underground if possible. This was about to get very loud. Warlord Krex said his tone was almost pitying. He called Jake brave for a human, but bravery without wisdom was just suicide. Last chance to surrender or die. Jake took a breath and felt the weight of every life depending on his next decision. He asked Guardian Prime what the Guardian Collective's rules of engagement were for situations like this. The AI said to overwhelm the enemy with minimum necessary force. Demonstrate capability such that further resistance became logically pointless. The Guardian Collective believed that showing mercy from a position of absolute strength was the ultimate deterrent. Jake asked if they could do that here. The AI said it was unknown. This scenario exceeded tactical parameters in its database. However, it calculated a 37% probability of success if they executed something called Protocol Titan. Jake asked what Protocol Titan was. Guardian Prime said it was an escalation sequence designed to make enemies reconsider their life choices. The AI had not had opportunity to execute this protocol in 3,000 years. Jake smiled grimly. He asked how long until the Vrax were in firing range. The AI said 90 seconds. Jake said he guessed they were about to find out if a Deathworlder could command a Guardian vessel after all. He ordered Guardian Prime to execute Protocol Titan. The AI said with what sounded like pleasure that it would comply immediately. Guardian Prime's hull began to glow as power reserves T. Protocol Titan began with a light show that nobody in the fleet would ever forget. Guardian Prime's hull plating shifted and revealed energy channels that pulsed with blue-white light. The ship's shield generators created a visible barrier that rippled like water. Every weapon port opened at the same time and showed rows of armaments that made the Virax battleship weapons look like toys. Guardian Prime announced that all weapon systems were now active. Shield strength was at maximum. Power reserves were at 93% capacity. On the Virax flagship, Warlord Krex watched his tactical officer's face turn pale. He demanded a report. The officer's hands were shaking as he spoke. He said the Guardian vessel was generating more power than their entire fleet combined. Those were not just weapons but siege-class planetary bombardment arrays. Any one of those cannons could crack a moon in half. Krex's confidence began to waver. He shouted orders to fire all weapons immediately. The 8 Vrax battleships opened fire at the same time, kinetic rounds traveling at incredible speeds, energy beams that could cut through military shielding, missiles with fusion warheads, everything the Vrax Armada could throw at a target. Guardian Prime did not try to dodge any of it. The weapons fire struck the ancient warship's shields and simply stopped. Energy scattered across the barrier like rain on a window. Kinetic rounds sparked and bounced away. Missiles exploded harmlessly against a wall of force that did not even flicker from the impacts. Guardian Prime reported no damage sustained. Enemy weapons were completely insufficient to penetrate Guardian-class shielding. The AI asked if Jake wanted it to return fire. Jake watched the tactical display and saw the Vrak ships preparing another attack. He said no, not yet. He told Guardian Prime to open a channel to Warlord Krex. Krex's face appeared, and his expression showed a mixture of rage and growing fear. He demanded to know what kind of vessel this was. Jake said it was the kind that was designed to end wars. The Guardian Collective built ships like this to be peacekeepers. Overwhelming force used not for conquest but for protection. Krex had asked if one Guardian vessel could stand against the Vrak's armada. Jake said he thought Krex had his answer now. Krex shouted that they would not yield to human intimidation. Jake said calmly that he was not trying to intimidate anyone. He was trying to save lives, including Krex's own life. He told Guardian Prime to show them what he meant. The ancient AI complied immediately. Target locks activated across all 8 Vrak's battleships. The locks highlighted specific points on each vessel with laser precision. The holographic display showed theoretical firing solutions. Engines disabled, weapons destroyed, life support compromised just enough to require evacuation but not enough to kill anyone. Jake said he could disable the entire Vrak's fleet in under 1 minute, but he would not do that, because unlike the Vraks, he did not see the need to prove his strength by causing suffering. The Kelvins were under Guardian protection now. The Vraks could not hurt them anymore, but Jake was not going to hurt the Vraks either unless they forced his hand. Warlord Krex stared at the tactical display that showed his fleet's absolute vulnerability. He asked why Jake was hesitating when he could destroy them right now. Jake said destruction was not the goal. The Guardian Collective did not build this ship to create corpses. They built it to give people a choice between peace and consequences. Jake was giving Krex that same choice. Leave this system and tell everyone that the Kelvin system was off limits. Maybe everyone could walk away from this without anyone dying. On the Council observation ship, the delegates were witnessing something they had never seen before. A Deathworlder commanding the most powerful warship in known space was offering mercy to enemies who had shown none. Counselor Dren leaned forward and said this was remarkable. Jake had them at his mercy, but instead of revenge, he was giving them a way out. Sub-Commander Velkus finished his thought in a hollow voice. This was not Deathworlder behavior. This was not human nature as they understood it. Dren suggested gently that perhaps they understood humanity less than they had assumed. In the Vrak's flagship, Krex faced a choice that would define his legacy. His pride demanded he fight and prove the Vraks would never bow to threats. But his survival instincts that had been sharpened through decades of combat were screaming at him to retreat. He asked slowly if Jake would really let them leave if they withdrew. Just like that, with no conditions. Jake confirmed it. Just like that? The marauders that Krex had sent ahead were disabled but alive. Jake had already called for rescue services. Krex could collect them on his way out. Take them home and tell them what happened here. Tell everyone what happened. Maybe the next time someone thought about attacking a protected species, they would remember the Guardian vessel that could have killed them, but chose not to. Krex was silent for a long moment. Then surprisingly, he laughed. He said Jake was either the bravest fool in the galaxy or the most dangerous opponent the Vraks had ever faced. He could not decide which. Jake asked if he could be both. Krex said apparently so. He turned to his crew and ordered all vessels to stand down and prepare for system departure. He looked back at Jake and said this was not over. The Vrak's armada did not forget. Jake said he was counting on that. He wanted Krex to remember. Remember that they met a Guardian vessel and its commander. Remember that they were shown mercy. Remember that the same mercy they received today was what the Guardian Collective offered to everyone. Choose peace and never face Guardian Prime in anger. Choose violence against the innocent, and they had seen what happens. The Vrak's fleet withdrew and collected the disabled marauder vessels as they went. Within 1 hour, the Kelvin system was clear of hostile forces for the first time in weeks. Jake slumped in his command chair as the adrenaline faded from his body. He asked Guardian Prime for a damage report. The AI said shield capacity was at 98%. All systems were optimal. No damage was sustained. Jake asked about Kelvin casualties. The AI said planetary scans indicated medical emergencies in progress, but active bombardment had ceased. Projected survival rate was significantly improved. Guardian Prime stated that this was the optimal outcome. Amy's hologram appeared on the bridge and said the Council observation ship was requesting an immediate debrief. They seemed confused. Jake asked why they were confused. Amy said he had just demonstrated overwhelming force and then did not use it to annihilate his enemy. Apparently that was breaking their understanding of Deathworlder behavior. Jake laughed tiredly and said maybe it was time they updated their understanding. The debrief lasted 6 hours. Jake explained his decisions and his reasoning, and his interpretation of Guardian protocols. The council delegates questioned every action and every choice. They looked for hidden motives and secret agendas. They found nothing suspicious at all. Counselor Dren finally said that Jake had done something today that seemed impossible. He had proven that power and mercy were not opposites. That strength could be used to preserve life rather than take it. Jake said he just did what the Guardian Collective would have wanted, what their ship was designed for. Dren agreed but said the Guardian Collective was long gone. Jake made these choices as a human from a death world with all the aggressive instincts that evolution supposedly gave him, and yet he chose restraint. Why? Jake considered the question carefully. He said that back on Earth they had a saying, just because you can does not mean you should. He had the power to destroy the Vrax fleet, but he did not need to. The Kelvins were safe. The Marauders and Warlord Krex would think twice before attacking protected worlds. Nobody had to die. That was not weakness, but wisdom. Sub-Commander Velka spoke up and her tone had changed from hostile to thoughtful. She said she believed she owed Jake an apology. She had judged him based on stereotypes about Deathworlders and about humanity. She was wrong. Jake said diplomatically that they were all learning, including him. He was still figuring out what it meant to command a Guardian vessel. Dren said the question now was what happened next. Guardian Prime had proven functional. Jake had proven competent. But the Council could not simply accept a human commanding the most powerful warship in known space without establishing oversight or integration into existing defense structures. Jake said he was open to oversight. In fact, he insisted on it. Guardian Prime was never meant to operate alone. The Guardian Collective worked with the civilizations they protected. He would like to do the same. Over the next weeks, a framework emerged. Jake Morrison would retain command of Guardian Prime but would operate under a liaison system with the Galactic Council. Missions would be coordinated and strategy discussed and actions kept transparent. The ancient Guardian warship would become what it was always meant to be. A protector and not a conqueror. The news spread across galactic civilization like wildfire. The human who fixed an ancient warship. The Deathworlder who had overwhelming power and chose mercy. The Guardian vessel awakened after 3,000 years. Some species remained skeptical and certain that humanity's true nature would eventually emerge. Others saw hope that perhaps the old prejudices about Deathworlders needed re-evaluation. The Kelvins, who were now recovering under Galactic Council aid, built monuments to the Guardian vessel that had saved them. In the engineering bay of Guardia,
Fleet Commander Zixthar had watched the stars for 40 years. His 4 eyes could pick out the smallest details on the massive display screens that covered the walls of Sentinel Prime. The defense station floated at the edge of Tarkonian Empire space, silent and watchful. Every ship, every piece of space dust, every comet that came near their borders showed up on his screens. Nothing escaped the detection grid. Nothing ever had. Zixthar walked slowly across the command center. His long legs carried him past rows of officers who sat at their stations. Each officer watched their own section of space. The Tarkonian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their sensor technology was the best that existed. They could detect a single ship from 100 light-years away. They could read the heat from an engine across entire star systems. "Commander," a young officer called out. Her name was Pelix, and she handled the navigation sensors. "I have something strange." Zixthar moved to her station. Strange was not a word they used often. "Show me." Pelix pointed at her screen. A red marker blinked near the edge of their territory. "There is a gravitational distortion moving toward us. But Commander, there is nothing else. No heat signature. No electromagnetic readings. No radiation. No light. Just gravity." Zixthar felt his stomach tighten. "Check your equipment. The sensors must be damaged." "I already checked," Pelix said. Her voice was steady. But Zixthar could see fear in her eyes. "All systems are working perfectly. And Commander, the distortion is moving fast. Very fast. Zixthar leaned closer to the screen. The red marker showed something large moving through space. The computer estimated its size at about 800 meters long. Ship-sized. But ships produced heat. They produced electromagnetic signals from their engines and their computers. They produced radiation. They lit up the sensors like small stars. This thing showed nothing. It was like a hole in space itself, visible only because its gravity bent the space around it. "Get me Chief Sensor Officer Kralvex," Zixthar said. His voice came out harder than he intended. Kralvex arrived within minutes. He was old, even for a Tarkonian, and he had designed half the sensor systems they used. He looked at Pelix's screen for a long time without speaking. His breathing grew faster. "This is impossible," Kralvex finally said. "Everything in the universe produces some kind of signal. Even a cold rock, floating in space, produces infrared radiation. Even the emptiest parts of space have background radiation. This thing produces nothing. It is like a ghost. Ghosts are not real," Zixthar said. "Neither is this, according to our understanding of physics," Kralvex replied. Yet there it is. Zixthar watched the red marker move across the display. It was slowing down. Something was controlling it. Something intelligent. "What is the trajectory?" Pelix worked quickly on her computer. Her hands shook slightly. "Commander, it is heading directly for the capital world. At current speed, it will arrive in 72 hours. The command center went silent. Everyone had heard. The capital world was home to 50 billion Tarkonians. It was the heart of the empire, and something impossible was heading straight for it. Zixthar made his decision. "Send an emergency alert to the Imperial Council. Mark it highest priority. Tell them we have an unknown contact approaching the capital. Tell them it is invisible to all our sensors, except gravity detection." He turned to face his crew. "Go to alert status 1. Track that object every second. If it changes course, I want to know immediately. If it does anything at all, I want to know." The crew moved quickly. Alert messages flew across space at faster than light speed. Within the hour, the Imperial Council received the news. The council chamber was a massive room carved from a single piece of crystal. It had stood for 5,000 years. Representatives from all the major species in the Empire gathered there. Tarkonians, Velxians, Crothians, and dozens more. They had ruled the galaxy together for centuries. They had seen wars, peace, discoveries, and disasters, but they had never seen this. High Counselor Mergzoth stood at the center of the chamber. She was tall, even for a Tarkonian, and her silver robes marked her position. "We have confirmed the report from Sentinel Prime," she said. Her voice echoed in the vast space. "Something is approaching our capital world. We cannot see it. We cannot detect it with any of our technology. We only know it exists because of its gravitational pull on the space around it." "How is this possible?" Counselor Velmar asked. He was the chief scientist of the Empire, a small Velxian with blue skin and large eyes that saw into wavelengths others could not. "I have reviewed the data. This breaks every law of physics we know. Unless what?" Mergzoth asked. "Unless it is stealth technology beyond anything we have imagined," Velmar said slowly. "Or, unless it is not from our universe at all." Fear spread through the chamber like a wave. Species that had lived in peace for generations suddenly remembered ancient wars. They remembered the stories of the old darkness, a force that had nearly destroyed the galaxy 1,000,000 years ago. Those were just legends, weren't they? "We must consider all possibilities," Mergzoth said. "This could be a weapon. It could be a natural phenomenon. It could be an attack from an unknown enemy. We have 72 hours to determine which." "Admiral Korvex, prepare the defense fleet." Admiral Korvex nodded. He was a Crothian, built like a living tank with gray armored skin. "I will gather every ship we have, If this thing is hostile, we will stop it. But in his heart, Corvex wondered, how do you fight something you cannot see? How do you shoot at something that produces no heat, no light, no signal at all? It would be like fighting a nightmare. Deep in the lower levels of the council building, a junior analyst named Ji-Hoon Park reviewed the data. He was human, one of only 3 humans working in the Empire administration. Humans were new to the galaxy, having joined only 30 years ago. Most people still thought of them as strange, with their flat faces and their odd custom of showing emotion with their mouths. Ji-Hoon looked at the trajectory data over and over. Something about the path the ghost ship followed seemed familiar. He pulled up old records, going back decades. Then he found it. 150 years ago, the Empire had sent first contact beacon packages to thousands of star systems. The packages contained messages of peace, information about the Empire, and coordinates to find them. Most of the beacons were never answered. Most were probably never found, but one of those beacons had been sent to a small yellow star system. The coordinates matched the ghost ship's origin point perfectly. Ji-Hoon's hands went cold. He printed the data and ran up the stairs to the main council level. He had to tell someone. This might not be an attack at all. This might be someone answering a very old invitation. But when he reached the council chamber doors, the guards stopped him. Junior analysts were not allowed in during emergency sessions. In orbit around the capital world, 200 warships gathered. They formed defensive patterns that had won 1,000 battles. Their weapons powered up, their shields activated. They waited for the ghost ship to arrive. And across the Empire, billions of people looked at the sky and wondered what was coming for them in the darkness. The emergency session had gone on for 12 hours. Representatives from every major world in the Empire crowded into the council chamber. The normal rules about order and speaking time had been forgotten. Everyone wanted to talk. Everyone wanted to share their fear. High Counselor Mergzath finally struck the resonance bell. The deep sound silenced the room. We will hear from Chief Scientist Velmar now. Perhaps he can give us answers. Velmar walked to the center platform. His small blue body looked tiny in the huge space, but his voice was strong. I have studied all the data we have collected over the past 18 hours. The object continues to approach at steady speed. It is now 48 hours from the capital world. It continues to show only gravitational signature. He activated a holographic display. The ghost ship appeared as a red outline against a map of space. Based on the gravitational distortion, we can estimate its mass and size. It is approximately 800 meters long. It masses about 2 million tons. This is consistent with a large spacecraft. But why can we not see it? Counselor Drothix demanded. The Crothian counselor slammed his fist on his desk. Why does it produce no heat? No light? No radio waves? Nothing? Velmar's large eyes blinked slowly. I have 3 theories. None of them are good. The chamber went silent. Theory 1, Velmar said. Perfect stealth technology. Perhaps this species has learned to block or absorb all electromagnetic radiation. They would be invisible to all our sensors, but this is very difficult. Even theoretical stealth technology should leave some trace. Heat has to go somewhere. Energy has to escape somehow. This ship shows absolutely nothing. He moved to the next part of his display. Theory 2. Interdimensional travel. Perhaps this ship exists partially in another dimension. It would explain why we cannot detect it normally, but our instruments show it is clearly in our dimension. It moves through normal space. It follows normal physics, except for being invisible. And Theory 3? Mergzath asked quietly. Velmar paused. Theory 3 is that this is not a ship at all. It is a weapon. Perhaps the old darkness has returned. Perhaps this is an ancient artifact, activated after sleeping for millions of years. Perhaps it will destroy us all when it reaches the capital. Panic erupted. Counselors shouted. Some demanded evacuation of the capital world. Others called for immediate attack. A few suggested surrender. Though surrender to what? They could not say. Mergzath struck the bell again and again. We will not evacuate 50 billion people in 48 hours. It would cause more death than any attack. We will defend our home. We will defend our home. Admiral Korvex stood. His massive frame commanded attention. My fleet is in position. 200 of our finest warships surround the capital. We have planetary defense shields at maximum power. We have weapons that can crack a moon in half. If this thing attacks, we will destroy it. How? Someone shouted from the back. How do you destroy what you cannot see? Korvex had no answer for that. Outside the chamber, Ji-hoon Park waited. He had been waiting for 8 hours. He held his datapad with the beacon information. He had tried to send messages to the council, but junior analysts did not have that access. He had tried to tell the guards, but they had dismissed him. He was just a human. What could he know that the great minds of the Empire did not? Finally, an assistant to Councillor Velmar came out of the chamber. Her name was Sikzara, and she had always been kind to Ji-hoon. He stopped her. Please, Ji-hoon said. I have information about the ghost ship. I think I know where it came from. Sikzara looked tired. She had been translating scientific data for 12 hours straight. Ji-hoon, we have thousands of theories. Unless you can tell us what this thing is and how to stop it, the council does not have time. But I found the beacon coordinates, Ji-hoon insisted. He showed her his datapad. Look, 150 years ago, the Empire sent a first contact beacon to this star system. The ghost ship's trajectory matches perfectly. I think someone is answering the beacon. I think this is a first contact situation, not an attack. Sikzara looked at the data. For a moment, hope lit up her face. Then it faded. Ji-hoon. That beacon went to a primitive system. The survey said there was barely multicellular life there. Even if they evolved into spacefaring species, they could not build something like this in only 150 years. It takes thousands of years to develop this kind of technology. But what if they did? Ji-hoon asked. What if they are just trying to say hello? Round. And well, Ji-hoon. And what if they did? Ji-hoon. And what if they are just trying to say hello? Then why do they not answer our hails? Sikzara said gently. We have been broadcasting to them on all frequencies. We have sent mathematical proofs, universal greetings, everything we can think of. They do not respond. They just keep coming. She patted Ji-hoon's shoulder. I will mention your theory to Velmar. But please understand, the Council must prepare for the worst. We cannot risk 50 billion lives on hope. Ji-hoon watched her walk back into the chamber. He felt frustrated and helpless. He knew he was right. He felt it in his bones. But no one would listen. Inside the council chamber, Sikzara whispered to Velmar. The chief scientist looked at Ji-hoon's data briefly. Then he shook his head. The timeline does not work, and we are receiving no communications. I appreciate the young human's creativity, but this is not the time for optimistic theories. The session continued. More theories were discussed. More fears were shared. Some counselors suggested that the ghost ship was from a parallel universe. Others thought it might be a living creature. Something born in the darkness between stars. A few believed it was a test from the gods, though most dismissed this as superstition. As the hours passed, society began to break down. News of the ghost ship had leaked to the public. On the capital world, people crowded the spaceports. Everyone wanted to leave. Fights broke out. Some stores were robbed. The police struggled to maintain order. On the news networks, experts gave their opinions. Most agreed that this was an attack. Some said the Empire had grown soft after so many centuries of peace. Others blamed the scientists for not developing better detection technology. A few said the Empire should never have expanded so far into unknown space. Religious leaders held prayer services. Different species prayed to different gods, but all asked for the same thing: protection, salvation, a miracle. In orbit, Admiral Corvex stood on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the tactical display. His 200 ships were positioned in perfect defensive formation. He had the best crews in the Empire. He had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. But as he watched the red marker creep closer on his display, he felt something he had not felt in 40 years of military service. He felt fear. His tactical officer, a young Tarkonian named Velkas, looked at him. "Admiral, what if we cannot stop it?" Corvex wanted to give a brave answer. He wanted to say they would fight to the last ship, but he was honest with his crew. "Then we die protecting our home. That is what we signed up for." The crew fell silent. They all knew it was true. 24 hours remained until the ghost ship arrived. The Empire held its breath and waited. Parents held their children. Lovers held each other. Soldiers checked their weapons one more time. And Ji-hoon Park sat alone in his small office, looking at his data about the old beacon. He pulled up information about the star system it had been sent to. The file was old and incomplete. The survey had been done by an automated probe. It listed one habitable world in the system. The world was marked as Class 12 Deathworld. Gravity too high. Oxygen levels toxic. Temperature extremes. Not suitable for colonization. The probe had detected radio waves from the planet, suggesting primitive technology. But that had been 150 years ago. The file was marked low priority for follow-up contact. Ji-hoon stared at the classification. Class 12. Deathworld. He wondered what kind of species could evolve on such a harsh planet. What would they be like? Would they be aggressive? Would they be desperate? Or would they be incredibly tough and resourceful? He decided to keep trying to contact someone in the council. He would not give up. If he was right, and this was a first contact situation, then the Empire was about to make a terrible mistake. Outside his window, he could see the defense fleet. 200 warships. Ready for battle. Ready to destroy the first species that had answered the Empire's invitation in 150 years. Ji-hoon picked up his datapad and headed for the council chamber again. He had to make them listen. The alert siren woke Ji-hoon from a brief sleep at his desk. He jumped up, confused for a moment. Then, he remembered. The ghost ship. It was 24 hours from arrival now. He ran to the communications center in the council building. Other workers crowded around the main display. Everyone was pointing and talking at once. "What is happening?" Ji-hoon asked. A communications officer named Krell Mix turned to him. Her face showed shock and confusion. "It is broadcasting. The ghost ship is finally sending us a message." Ji-hoon pushed closer to the screen. "What does it say?" "That is the problem," Krell Mix said. "We cannot understand it. The translation computers are failing. It sounds like Tarkonian language, but the words are all wrong. Old. Strange. Like someone is speaking a version of our language from hundreds of years ago." Ji-hoon's heart started beating faster. Ancient Tarkonian. That was what the first contact beacon would have contained. The beacon from 150 years ago. "Let me hear it," Ji-hoon said. Krell Mix played the audio. A voice came through the speakers. It was strange. Flat. Without the musical quality of Tarkonian voices. But the words were clear to Ji-hoon. He had studied ancient protocols. He had learned Old Tarkonian as part of his analyst training. "This is the Earth vessel, Quiet Runner," the voice said. "We are responding to your first contact invitation. We apologize for any alarm our approach has caused. Our propulsion system creates no electromagnetic signatures. We come in peace and friendship. We are honored to meet you at last." The room went completely silent. Everyone stared at Ji-hoon. "You understood that?" Krell Mix whispered. "Yes," Ji-hoon said. His voice shook with excitement. "They are from Earth. They received our beacon. They are answering it. They are coming in peace. Krell grabbed his arm. Come with me. The council needs to hear this right now. They ran through the corridors. The council was still in emergency session. Guards tried to stop them, but Krell outranked them. She burst into the chamber, with Ji-hoon right behind her. Hi, Counselor, Krell shouted. The ghost ship is broadcasting. This human can translate it. 2. Every eye in the chamber turned to Ji-hoon. He felt very small and very visible. High Counselor Merkzoth gestured him forward. Speak, she commanded. Ji-hoon walked to the center of the chamber. His legs felt weak. The ship is called Quiet Runner. It comes from a planet called Earth. They received our first contact beacon 150 years ago. They learned our language from it. That is why they speak in Old Tarkonian. They are coming to meet us. They say, they come in peace. Admiral Korvex stood up. How do we know this is true? This could be a trick. It matches the data I found yesterday, Ji-hoon said. He pulled up his files on the chamber's main display. The beacon, the coordinates, everything matches. They are telling the truth. Chief Scientist Velmar studied the data. If this is true, then these humans developed space travel in only 150 years. That is impossible. It took us thousands of years. It took every species we know thousands of years. Maybe it is not impossible, Ji-hoon said quietly. Maybe they are just very motivated. We invited them. But why can we not detect their ship? Counselor Drothix demanded. What kind of propulsion system is invisible? They said their propulsion creates no electromagnetic signatures, Ji-hoon explained. I do not know what that means exactly, but they seem to think it is normal for them. Velmar's eyes went wide. No electromagnetic signatures. That means, if they have somehow learned to use dark matter or dark energy as propulsion, those forces do not interact with light or normal matter. A ship powered by dark matter would produce almost no detectable signature except gravity. The chamber erupted in noise again. Dark matter was theoretical. Scientists had been studying it for thousands of years with no practical results. And these humans, from a planet no one had ever heard of, had somehow mastered it in just 150 years? This is either the greatest scientific achievement in history, Velmar said slowly, or the greatest lie. We should respond to them, Ji-hoon said. We should welcome them. They came all this way just to meet us. Or they came all this way to attack us, Korvex said. We cannot lower our guard. Merkzoth made her decision. We will respond. Ji-hoon Park, you will be our translator. Tell them we acknowledge their message. Tell them we are glad to meet them, but tell them to stop at a safe distance from the capital world. Tell them we will send representatives to meet them. Ji-hoon nodded. He went to the communications console. His hands shook as he typed out a message in ancient Tarkonian. He tried to remember the proper formal greeting style. Greetings to the vessel Quiet Runner from Earth. The Tarkonian Empire acknowledges your message. We are pleased to make contact with your species. We request that you stop your approach at a distance of 10 million kilometers from our capital world. We will send representatives to meet you there for formal first contact protocols. We welcome you in peace. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. He sent the message. Then everyone waited. The response came back in 15 minutes. The same flat voice spoke. We understand, and will comply. We are reducing speed now. We will hold position at the requested distance. Commander Sarah Chen of the Quiet Runner thanks you for your welcome. We have waited 30 years for this day. We are honored to finally meet the great Tarkonian Empire. Something about the message made Ji-hoon smile. The humans sounded genuinely excited. They sounded happy. Not like a species preparing to attack. They sounded like people who had just made a new friend. Over the next hours, more information was exchanged. The humans explained that they had detected the Tarkonian beacon 30 years ago. It had taken them 20 years to develop dark matter propulsion. It had taken them 10 more years to travel to Tarkonian space. They sent images of their ship. The Quiet Runner was sleek and strange, unlike any design the Empire used. It looked almost organic, with smooth curves instead of the angular designs Tarkonians preferred. They sent images of themselves. The Council gasped when they saw the first human face. So flat, so strange. They had hair on their heads, but not on their bodies. They showed emotions by moving their mouths into different shapes. It was unsettling to watch. Commander Sarah Chen introduced herself and her crew. 50 humans, she said. All volunteers. All trained scientists and diplomats. All dedicated to peaceful first contact. She explained that her ship was unarmed. We came to make friends, not war, Chen said through the translation. That would be a poor way to begin a relationship. Velmar analyzed the data they sent about their propulsion system. His hands trembled as he read. This is real, he said to the Council. They have actually done it. They have built a functioning dark matter engine. The theory is sound. The engineering is brilliant. These humans are remarkable. Or dangerous, Admiral Korvex said. Any species that can advance this fast could be a threat. Ji-hoon had been communicating back and forth with Commander Chen for hours now. He had learned about Earth, about human history, about their journey across space. Chen had a sense of humor. She had made several jokes that Ji-hoon found funny, even though he did not always understand them. Commander Chen, Ji-hoon typed. My council wishes to know more about your world. They are concerned that you advanced so quickly. Can you help them understand? The response took a few minutes. When it came, Ji-hoon's blood went cold. Of course, Chen replied. Earth is our home. It is a beautiful world, though I understand other species might find it challenging. Our gravity is quite strong. Our atmosphere has high oxygen content. We have extreme weather and many dangerous life forms. But to us, it is paradise. It made us strong. It made us innovative. We had to adapt quickly to survive. That drive to overcome challenges followed us into space. Ji-hoon pulled up the old survey file again. Class 12, Deathworld. He suddenly understood what that meant. These humans had evolved on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. Everything about them had been shaped by a world that wanted to kill them, and now they had come to visit in ships that the Empire could not see. He looked at the Council. They did not understand yet. They were still arguing about whether to trust the humans or prepare for battle. Ji-hoon realized that everything was about to change. The Empire was about to meet a species unlike any they had encountered before. A species from a world of nightmares who somehow learned to smile and make jokes. A species that mastered dark matter while the Empire was still trying to understand it. The humans had arrived. And the galaxy would never be the same. The Quiet Runner entered orbit exactly where it had been told to wait. Admiral Korvex watched it approach on his tactical display. Even now, knowing where it was, his sensors could barely detect it. The ship appeared as nothing more than a shadow, a distortion in space. Begin detailed scans, Korvex ordered. I want to know everything about that ship and the creatures inside it. His crew worked quickly. Specialized sensors focused on the Quiet Runner. They could not penetrate the dark matter shielding around the engines, but they could scan the crew areas. The data started coming through. The sensor officer, Vex's Toll, stared at his screen. His face went pale. Admiral, these readings cannot be correct. The life support systems on that ship, they are reading toxic levels. Explain, Korvex demanded. The internal atmosphere is 21% oxygen, Vex Toll said. His voice cracked. That is corrosive. It would burn our lungs. The gravity inside the ship is 1 standard G. That is nearly double what we consider safe. The temperature fluctuates between what we would consider freezing and dangerously hot. And Admiral, there are microorganisms everywhere. The ship is full of bacteria and other microscopic life. It should be a quarantine zone. Korvex felt his blood go cold. And the humans live in these conditions? It appears to be normal for them, Vextol said. According to these readings, they are comfortable. Korvex immediately sent the data to the council. Within minutes, Chief Scientist Velmar was on the communications screen. Admiral, do not allow any physical contact with the humans, Velmar said quickly. I am reviewing their planet data now. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Do you understand what that means? Most civilized species evolved on Class 3 or Class 4 planets. Earth is 4 times more deadly than the most dangerous colonized world in the Empire. In the council chamber, panic erupted again. Velmar displayed images of Earth that Commander Chen had sent. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds. It looked beautiful from space. Then he showed the details. Earth has gravity that would crush most of our species, Velmar explained. It has an oxygen-rich atmosphere that is literally burning things slowly. It has massive temperature swings from seasons and day-night cycles. It has violent weather patterns, storms that could destroy buildings, waves in the ocean that are bigger than starships, unquote. He brought up more data. Earth is full of predators. Large animals that hunt in packs, tiny organisms that cause disease, plants that are poisonous, insects that inject venom. The humans evolved, surrounded by things trying to kill them. They had to become smart, fast, and incredibly resilient just to survive. Counselor Drathix slammed his desk. And we invited these Deathworld monsters to our home? They could kill us all just by touching us with their bacteria. No, Ji-hoon said loudly. He stood up from his translator station. That is not fair. They are not monsters. They are just different. You do not understand, young human, Velmar said gently. Your species is remarkable. Yes, but you are also terrifying. You evolved in conditions that would kill 99% of species in the galaxy. Your normal is our nightmare. Ji-hoon felt anger rise in him. I am human too, remember? Am I a monster? Have I hurt anyone in the 30 years humans have been part of the Empire? The chamber went quiet. They had forgotten. Ji-hoon was human. He looked different with his flat face and strange proportions. But he had always been kind. He had always been helpful. He was one of the best junior analysts they had, even though he was so young. You are different, Counselor Merkzath said slowly. Humans who joined the Empire came from a colony world. A world that was terraformed to be less harsh. You grew up in gentle conditions. These humans from the Quiet Runner grew up on Earth itself. They are pure Deathworlders. Ji-hoon felt something twist in his chest. He had never been to Earth. His parents had been born on the colony world. New Sol. It had comfortable gravity, normal atmosphere, peaceful weather. He had grown up thinking of himself as civilized, as one of the gentle species. But Commander Chen and her crew were different. They were from the original world, the hard world. They were what humans were meant to be. I want to meet them, Ji-hoon said. Let me go to their ship. I can translate properly. I can help the council understand them. Absolutely not, Admiral Korvex said through the comm system. It is too dangerous. We know nothing about their intentions. But High Counselor Merkzath looked thoughtful. Actually, it makes sense. Ji-hoon is human. He can survive their environment, and he has been communicating with them successfully. He can be our ambassador. And if they take him hostage? Korvex demanded. Then we will know they are hostile, Merkzath said quietly. But if they welcome him, if they treat him with respect, then perhaps we can trust them. Ji-hoon was placed on a small shuttle with a security team. They approached the Quiet Runner slowly. As they got closer, Ji-hoon could finally see the ship clearly with his eyes. It was beautiful. The hull was smooth and dark, almost like water at night. Strange lights glowed along its surface in patterns he did not recognize. A docking port opened. The shuttle connected with a soft thud. "Remember," the security captain said to Ji-hoon. "If anything seems wrong, say the code word, and we will extract you immediately." Ji-hoon nodded, his heart pounded. The airlock door opened. The air that rushed in smelled different. It had a strange quality that Ji-hoon could not identify. Fresh. Somehow. The gravity felt heavier as he stepped through. His colony world had been set to 0.8 G. This was a full 1 G. He could feel the difference in his bones. Commander Sarah Chen waited on the other side. She was shorter than Ji-hoon expected, but she stood straight and strong. Her dark hair was pulled back from her face. Her eyes were kind. "Welcome aboard the Quiet Runner," Chen said in ancient Tarkonian. Then she switched to modern standard language. "I have been learning your current language from the broadcasts. I hope I am speaking correctly now." You are doing very well," Ji-hoon said. His own voice sounded strange to him. He realized he was speaking to another human for the first time in years. "I am Ji-hoon Park. I am the Empire's translator." "Park," Chen said with a smile. "That is a Korean name. My grandmother was Korean. It is good to meet family out here among the stars." She led him through the ship. Ji-hoon saw other crew members. They all looked different from each other. Different skin colors. Different face shapes. Different body types. But they all moved with the same confident strength. "Your council is afraid of us," Chen said as they walked. "I understand why. We have been reading the data they sent us. About Class 12 worlds. We did not realize our home was considered so dangerous. To us, Earth is just home." "What was it like?" Ji-hoon asked. "Growing up there," Chen thought for a moment. "Beautiful. Challenging. We learned young that nature does not care about us. The ocean can drown you. The sun can burn you. Wild animals can hurt you. But we also learned that working together, we can overcome anything. We built cities. We tamed rivers. We learned to predict weather. We turned a deadly world into a home." She showed him the ship's bridge. It was smaller than Tarkonian bridges, more efficient. Everything was designed for function. "Our propulsion system," Chen said, pointing to a display. "We call it dark matter drive. We discovered Earth sits in an unusual dark matter density field. We studied it for years. Then one of our scientists realized we could use it to push against space itself. No combustion. No plasma. No electromagnetic signature. We just slide through space. It is amazing," Ji-hoon said honestly. "It was necessary," Chen replied. "When we received your beacon, our whole world celebrated. We were not alone, but we were so far away. Conventional engines would take thousands of years to reach you, so we worked. Every nation, every scientist. We had to develop this technology because we had to meet you." Ji-hoon felt tears in his eyes. "You did all that just to say hello?" "Of course," Chen said, looking surprised. "Is that not what you do when you meet new friends?" In that moment, Ji-hoon understood. The Empire saw Deathworld predators. They saw dangerous creatures from a hostile planet. But Chen and her crew were not monsters. They were humans who had learned compassion in the hardest school in the galaxy. They had learned cooperation because they had to work together to survive. They had learned hope because without hope, they would have given up long ago. "Commander Chen," Ji-hoon said, "the Empire is very afraid right now. But I will help them understand. You came in peace. You deserve a peaceful welcome." Chen smiled. "Thank you, Ji-hoon. That means everything to us." As Ji-hoon returned to the shuttle, he carried with him the truth. Humanity was strong. Yes. Humanity was tough. Yes. But humanity was also kind. And that was the most important thing of all. He just had to make the Empire see it. Ji-hoon was giving his report to the council when the alarms went off. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. Every screen showed the same terrifying message. Multiple gravitational anomalies detected. Admiral Korvex's voice came through on emergency broadcast. Council, we have a situation. 12 more objects have appeared at the edge of the system. Same signature as the Quiet Runner. 12 more ghost ships. They are heading toward us. The council erupted in chaos. Councilors shouted over each other. Some ran for the exits. High Councilor Mergzoth struck the resonance bell over and over, but no one listened. It is an invasion, Councilor Drathix roared. They tricked us. The first ship was a distraction. Ji-hoon felt his stomach drop. No, this could not be right. Commander Chen had been so kind, so peaceful. There had to be an explanation. He ran to the communications console and sent an emergency message to the Quiet Runner. Commander Chen, 12 more ships just appeared. The Empire thinks this is an attack. Please explain quickly. The response came back in seconds. Chen's voice sounded shocked and upset. What? No. Those are the colony ships. They were following behind us. Oh no. We should have told you they were coming. We did not think. We are so sorry. Two. Ji-hoon broadcast her message to the whole council chamber. They are colony ships, not warships. Commander Chen says they are carrying colonists. Colonists? Velmar said. His voice was shrill with panic. How many? Ji-hoon asked Chen. The answer made him close his eyes. 50,000 humans. They are families, scientists, teachers, engineers, artists. They came hoping to establish cultural exchange with the Empire. They wanted to live among us and learn from us. The council stared at him in horror. 50,000 Deathworlders, someone whispered, coming to our space. Admiral Korvex's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, tactical displays showed his fleet moving to intercept positions. High Counselor, I have weapons locked on all 13 human vessels. Say the word, and I will destroy them. Wait, Ji-hoon shouted. You cannot. They are civilians, families, children. They are invaders, Korvex said coldly. They brought 50,000 of their kind into our space without permission. This is an invasion fleet. No matter what they call it. Chen's voice came through again. Please. We mean no harm. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. In human first contact protocols, it is normal to send both a diplomatic ship and colonists. We wanted to live with you, to share our cultures. We thought this was how first contact worked. Velmar looked at Ji-hoon. Is this true? Is this normal for humans? Ji-hoon thought about human history. The old stories from Earth. Yes, he said slowly. Humans have always been explorers. When they found new lands on Earth, they sent diplomats and settlers together. They wanted to build relationships by living together, not just talking from far away. But we are not ready for this, Mergzoth said. Her voice shook. We cannot integrate 50,000 humans into our society. We do not know how to handle your environmental needs. We do not know if you are safe to be around. This is too much. Too fast. On the Quiet Runner, Sarah Chen sat in her captain's chair and felt her dream crumbling. 30 years. Humanity had worked for 30 years for this moment. Every nation on Earth had contributed. They had built 13 ships. They had trained 50,000 people in Tarkonian culture and language. They had prepared for peaceful integration. And now the Empire saw them as invaders. What do we do? Her first officer asked. His name was Marcus. And he had been on Earth when Chen was selected for this mission. If they attack, we cannot fight back. These are colony ships. We have no weapons. Chen made her decision. Broadcast this message on all frequencies. Make sure everyone in the Empire can hear it. She stood up and faced the camera. She spoke in her best ancient Tarkonian, then switched to the modern language. People of the Tarkonian Empire. My name is Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. I stand before you to apologize. We have made a terrible mistake. We did not mean to frighten you. We did not mean to invade your space. We only wanted to meet you. She paused, gathering her emotions. 150 years ago, you sent a beacon to our world. That beacon changed everything for us. We learned we were not alone in the universe. We learned there were other species out here, reaching out in friendship. That single message gave us hope and purpose. We worked for 30 years to reach you. We developed new technology. We trained people from every part of our world. We sent our best and brightest. We sent our families. We sent 50,000 people who dreamed of living among the stars with new friends. Chen's voice broke slightly. But we did not understand how different we are. We did not know our world was so harsh compared to yours. We did not know our bodies and our technology would frighten you. We were so excited to meet you that we did not think about how our arrival would look. She straightened her shoulders. We will leave. All 13 ships will turn around and go home. We will not force ourselves on you. We came in peace, and we will leave in peace. But please know this. Humanity waited 150 years for you to send that beacon. Then, we waited 30 more years to reach you. We will wait longer, if we must. When you are ready, if you are ever ready, we will be here. We will always be willing to be your friends. We will always be willing to be your friends. We will always be willing to be your friends. The broadcast ended. On the bridge of the Quiet Runner, the crew sat in silence. Some were crying. They had given up years of their lives for this mission. Some had left children behind on Earth, planning to bring them later. Now they would return home as failures. In the council chamber, the message played on every screen. Counselors watched Sarah Chen's face as she spoke. They heard the emotion in her voice. They saw the hope die in her eyes. Jihoon felt tears running down his face. He turned to the council. She is telling the truth. They really just wanted to be friends. They gave up everything to come here. They developed impossible technology just to say hello. And we are sending them away. End quote. High Counselor Mergzath sat in her chair. She looked very old suddenly. She had led the Empire for 50 years. She had made thousands of difficult decisions. But this one felt different. Velmar, she said quietly. In your professional opinion, are the humans dangerous? The chief scientist thought carefully. They are capable of being dangerous, yes. Their physical strength, their resilience, their technology. All of it could be weaponized. But High Counselor, they chose not to weaponize any of it. Commander Chen told me their ships carry no weapons. None. They came to us completely vulnerable. That is not the choice of conquerors. That is the choice of friends. Admiral Korvex appeared on the screen again. High Counselor, the human ships are turning around. They are leaving. Should I stand down? Mergzath looked around the chamber. She saw fear in the faces of the counselors. But she also saw something else. Shame. They had been given a gift, the friendship of a remarkable species. And they had rejected it out of fear. Admiral Korvex, Mergzath said slowly. Stand down. Do not fire on the human ships. Then she stood up. Open a channel to Commander Chen. Sarah Chen's face appeared on the screen. Her eyes were red, but she held herself with dignity. Commander Chen, Mergzath said, please do not leave. Not yet. You are right that we are frightened. You are right that we are not ready for 50,000 of your people. But perhaps we can start smaller. You and your crew of 50. Stay here. Live among us. Teach us about humanity. Help us understand you. And when we are ready, when we have learned to not be afraid, then perhaps the colony ships can return. Hope flickered in Chen's eyes. You would accept us? We invited you 150 years ago, Mergzath said. It would be rude to take back an invitation. Besides, Ji-hoon Park needs more humans to talk to. He is terribly outnumbered here. Laughter rippled through the council chamber. The tension broke like a released spring. Chen smiled. It was the most beautiful smile Ji-hoon had ever seen. We would be honored to stay. Thank you, High Counselor. Thank you for giving us a chance. Over the next weeks, the Quiet Runner and its crew integrated into Empire society. The colony ships turned back toward a nearby system where they could wait safely. Commander Chen and her crew set up an embassy. They shared their dark matter propulsion technology freely. Amazing Empire scientists. They shared human art, music, and food. And slowly, the Empire learned to not be afraid. They learned that Deathworld humans were not monsters. They were just people who had learned to be strong, but who chose to be kind. Ji-hoon Park was appointed as the official liaison between humanity and the Empire. He stood on the balcony of the embassy one evening, watching the stars. Commander Chen joined him. Thank you, she said quietly, for believing in us when no one else did. Thank you for coming, Ji-hoon replied. You reminded me what it means to be human. Not the gentle colony version. The real version. The version that never gives up. The version that crosses the galaxy just to make a friend. Chen handed him a small pot with a white flower. This is a peace lily. On Earth, we give them as gifts when we want to make peace with someone. I brought 1,000 of them from home, hoping to give them to our new friends. I want you to have the first one. And Ji-hoon took the plant carefully. It was beautiful and delicate. Hard to believe it came from a death world. Above them, the stars shone bright. Somewhere out there, 12 colony ships waited for their chance to come home. And someday, when the Empire was ready, they would return. 50,000 humans, ready to build a new life among the stars. But for now, 50 were enough. 50 ambassadors of humanity. 50 bridge builders between worlds. 50 friends who refused to give up on hope.